Hey everyone, welcome. It is Thursday morning. You can tell school's getting started. Dropped off a child this morning. I haven't had my chance to go on the walk for my walk with the dog, so I'll be doing that next. Excuse me, allergies this morning are kind of killer. My boy woke up and he was just like, ugh. And I was like, yeah, it's August. So welcome. Say hi, howdy if you are catching this live. Let me know that you're here. And then if you're catching this on the replay, tell me it's replay. Like just say replay. Let me know that you're catching it on a replay. Most people do see it as a replay. So it's always good to know, though. I love to know who's out there, who's seeing this. It keeps me motivated to keep doing these videos for you guys. So yeah, say hi. Let me know you're there. So I thought we would talk about being strategic. And there are a lot of models out there, and I want to talk about them because I think I see people get swept up with models per se, but if you break down all these models out there, they're really at their very basic core very similar. So it is about finding one that just feels like it fits, you know. But if I can help share just some really basic fundamentals with you today, then I feel confident that we can get you back into more of a strategic role in your business. So we're talking about how to be strategic in the next 90 days. Okay, so we are mid-August. 90 days would take us to mid-November. And I think that's really good because I look at really your strategic planning for next year should happen October, November. We don't need to do it in the middle of the holiday season, number one, because people's brains are elsewhere. Number two, when you get ready to do strategy plans and get ready to put plans into action, there typically is a ramp up time, gathering of materials, investigating, researching, preparing, whatever it is. But there's a prep time that happens before you can get into action. Doing your yearly strategic plan in October, November gives you the time to be prepared and hit the ground running come January 1st. A lot of people wait till January 1st to set their strategic plan, and they really just don't get running. They just don't get running. So I think right now, everyone's been this year, 2020, and my husband last night goes, man, 2020 has been the longest 3 years of my life. And that's a lot how a lot of people are feeling, right? And so we've had to be reactive because things are changing so quickly, so frequently, that it puts us more in a reactive mode. But if we stay in this reactive mode, and guys, even if you can get into the strategic mindset moving forward, you can strategically react without becoming reactive, if that makes sense. And I'll tell you how in just a few minutes. But we have just been so reactive, and I still see so many people just waiting for things to change. Well, they change on a daily basis. So that's not really a good enough reason. You know, the wait and see kind of approach, the hope and pray kind of approach, not against prayer, but those as strategic plans really don't work. They just keep you where you are. And every day that you are where you are is actually a day that you're going backwards. You may not see it. It's kind of that, how do you boil a frog? You turn it up really slowly. And that's because the frog won't notice that the water's slowly progressing. So that can be used to our advantage, or it can actually be used against us because we just don't notice the decline when it's small. So if you have been stuck in this kind of like, okay, what do? I don't even know the right thing to do. Let's look at really what that's costing you. And then we'll get into like the 3 tips I'm going to give you today. So if we look at it really and truly, when you get stuck into this reactive mode of operating, and maybe that's just been your mode for a while, especially if you've had huge growth in the last couple of years, you might find yourself in a reactive mode. But truly, if you're plateauing, think of that as treading water, because a plateau masks things that are happening in a business. And so anytime I see a business that's plateaued, generally what I see is profits declining. And it's just like, if you think about treading water, it's only for so long that you can tread water. So we don't want to stay in that plateau area. Like I mentioned, the declining profits. When your profits are declining, your ability to weather storms like 2020 decline right along with it. Your ability to have longevity decline right along with it, right? All the things that I know you want as a business owner will go down if profits are not up. That's why one of the things we always start with is profits and cash, because that's the lifeblood, right? That's the oxygen in a business. If you are in a situation where you feel like it's another day, another fire, like that is become your chief role, is that putting out fires type of thing, that is like quintessential symptom of reactive management. It can change and those fires can go completely away. I promise you. It just takes diligence in changing how we're managing. And I'll say the last thing I'll say, it might be an indicator that you need really to get into more strategic thing, is if you feel like you are the one carrying the weight of the business, like your team doesn't always cooperate or doesn't go in the direction that you want, people don't seem to take initiative or ownership or accountability in your business, likely it's because they don't see the path. And when we're in this reactive kind of mindset of, oh, here's our problem today, let's solve the problem today, we can never really think far enough ahead. So thinking about tomorrow's business or next week's business or in a year's business, all of those things make it really difficult. Make it really difficult to actually get that kind of ownership and accountability that you want from your team. So here's the high point. Here's how I want you to think about visioning, is you do need to have a big, crazy BHAG, a big, hairy ass goal, okay? That is very future oriented. So 3, 5, 10 years, whatever your time is. My personal preference is under 3, because everything seems to change so quickly. By the time we get to the 5-year, it's like, oh man, we did that 2 years ago, right? So I like to have shorter long-term vision, shorter BHAG, if you will. Then you need a 1-year tighter vision that includes things like goals and growth and metrics, things you can measure against, okay? So whatever that might be for your business. Then we break that down into 90-day chunks. And this, if you think about it, is the tactical plan. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who has heard of this concept, right? But they did our 5-day challenge and we kind of reinforced it and gave a little more structure with things. And she goes, Leslie, it's just so much more freeing to be doing a 90-day plan, because I know that I can just focus on this for 90 days and all those things that pop up, like we should be and we could be and why aren't yous, I can put them on a list and I know that I can tackle them in 90 days. It's not like it's that far away. I don't feel like I'm really losing traction. If anything, I feel like we move faster. And that is what I have found with 90-day planning cycles, is you actually work easier. Like it's not a work harder, it's a work smarter kind of thing. And you move faster. So there's some things to movement, completions, growth, that what actually works is in direct, I guess, contrast to what you think should work. And taking things in smaller chunks, looking for those 1% improvements, all of these things which are easy to do actually work better than trying to bite off more than you can chew, if you will. So we're really, if you can adopt this kind of mindset of going, okay, really big vision, right? We know where we're going. We've claimed our destination, and then break it down into, okay, next year we would know that we're on our way to this vision if we achieve these things. And then those 90-day cycles, right, of how do we go? And then the 90-day cycles, what's so great is you check in. Are we on the right track? Did we do the right thing? No, that was horrible. Let's never do that again. Oh, okay, I'm going to replace this. And I'll even talk a little bit about mix maybe in one of our upcoming videos. So that's really the crux of what I want to share. So let's get into the 3 things you need to keep in mind. And actually, I'm going to bring in the mix. And I call it the mix. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, what's your cash imperative? Every business, in good times and bad times, gets into situations of cash imperatives, as in, I need to generate cash now. So here's this concept, if you will. When you think about what you're doing and when you're thinking about your 90-day plan, you're going to have short-term plans or short-term initiatives. And those are things that can be easily achieved and start to see results within 90 days. You're going to have medium term, and that's going to take you from the 90 days or 3-month mark to the 6-month mark. And then you're going to have long term. So long term being 6 months on, anything that takes 6 months on to be able to be done. You need a mix. A lot of times what I see is people go to the long term things. What's long term? Long term would be inbound. A lot of inbound is longer term. It takes a while to get build up speed. So website works, free gifts, those things. They don't typically just take off for people. And honestly, it typically takes 3 months just to pull together the back end. We did the 5-day challenge. And it's part of what we are committed to doing for the next year. It took us 2.5 months to get it to a 90% level. So 2.5 months. It took that first 90 days just to get the infrastructure and the pieces and the parts all in place to make this happen. So that's why it's a longer term. So like I said, I made a year commitment to doing this because I understood that the first time it's just, okay, did it work? Did all the pieces do what they were supposed to do? Yes. Okay, great. Now let's do it again. Let's get proficient at it. And then let's scale it. Okay, so that's why that's really a long-term initiative. Okay, I'm not expecting that to pay off or to really get a return on my investment for a whole year. But if I had a massive cash imperative, right, I would need to focus on something shorter term return on investment. So where you are, I always think you need something that builds in the business for tomorrow. But if you are in a greater cash imperative, you need to be doing more short term, more active, more you going out and finding people versus waiting for people to come to you. That's kind of the active versus passive. And maybe you put one little long term or maybe one medium term in there because you're building your future. If you're not in a cash imperative, but maybe you're seeing one come down the road, you can choose, right? You can just select things that will generate results in the time period that you need to generate them. That is a huge misstep that people do. All the time, people will come and they're like, I need money this month. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing? How are you generating leads? What are you doing to get to that money? And then I listen to them and I'm like, oh, well, honey, you're focusing on stuff that's going to take 12 months to bear fruit. We really need short-term things. So think about that when you're looking at what you're going to focus on. The second part is a bit of a balancing act. So right now, people have time, and that's great. And so you can load up on all of these initiatives. And if you can maintain a positive, abundant mindset with these initiatives versus a scarcity, fear-based mindset, they will do completely different things. Like I just wrote an article, actually it's in editing for entrepreneur.com on this negative and positive mindset kind of moniker. And it was really interesting. This one study showed that, over 80% of our thoughts are negative, and they're repetitive too. But crazy enough, of all of those negative thoughts of ways that things could play out, I think the stat was 80% of those actually turn out better than we could ever believe. So if we can believe that they're going to turn out better, we actually start to influence the success rate of those things. So call it law of attraction, call it whatever you want, positive mindset, it works, it impacts things. And it really is a success differentiator. It's one of those things I actually listen to when I'm talking to somebody about working together, is whether they have a positive mindset or a fear-based mindset. And how stuck are they? If they're in that fear base, how stuck are they? Because there's a point in time to where if you're really stuck in that, nothing's going to work. It's just not going to work. So keep a balance, if you will. You're in a period of time to where you probably have staff that has time on their hands. If you're paying them, put them to work. Put them into research mode, put them into development mode, do those things. But when you start to get back, because when you start to bring back strategic planning, it starts to work, and it may be just a little bit slower right now because of the market tension that's still out there. But when it comes back and you begin to get busy, you need to make a plan today on how you're going to balance that. Because when you drop it, and that's what happens, we get busy and we got to do all the work that's coming in and we can't do anything else, and that'll just have to wait. When you start to put this stuff on the back burner, then you start to slip back into reactive mode. So the key is to balance your workload between working on your business and working in your business, okay? So that you're maintaining this kind of long-term, really stability in your business, but you have to make that choice. You're the only one that can put it on your calendar. You're the only one that can say, this is important enough. And if you've got somebody like me in your back corner going, this is important enough, do not do this, you're only going to hurt yourself in the long term, then maybe that's a little bit more easy for you to do. But really think about how you're going to balance this long term. And then the third part is keep it simple. So KISS, keep it simple, silly, right? I love some of the other ways to say it, but keep it simple. Meaning what's simple gets done. If there's clear outcomes, if there's clear goals, maybe the first time is let's just figure out what good looks like, right? But then you know what good looks like, and then you can establish some baselines, or maybe you have baseline key metrics in your business already. Be outcome oriented. So we're not doing things that would be nice. We're not doing things right now that are, I personally, are sexy or huge investment sinks unless it makes really good strategic sense. But for a lot of people out there, you still have so many low-hanging fruit opportunities that you need to be capturing. So keep it simple. Map it out. Week 1, we'll do this. Week 2, we'll do that. Week 3, we'll do this, right? Keep it simple so that when you get into there, you can just execute. It's not so complex that you're like, what were we talking about? What does she mean? That's just kind of throws away all this work that you've put into the strategic vision of where you're going to go. So those are just a little bit of things. And even if you put them to work in your business imperfectly, because that's what we all do when we're first doing it, right? It's imperfect. You're still going to see that the needle starts to get moved. Or you're at least, if you're not seeing that, you're learning what isn't going to work. We're in too much instability to automatically know what is going to work. And the only way you'll figure out what works for you, and that's really the key, what works for you, is to try, test, and measure. Then pivot, try, test, and measure. It needs to be a little bit more of really, it's kind of that lean startup, if you will, kind of methodology. And I was going to mention those things, but look, there are structures. You can do Verne Harnish's scaling up. You could do EOS's traction. You could do the Great Game of Business. Really, they're all the same thing, just in a different twist, if you will. And they all talk about each other. It's very entertaining. I leveraged this from so-and-so. I leveraged this from so-and-so. Very entertaining. All the same structure. They all are talking about this 90-day plan. There's the 90-day year, right? There's enough people in business leading the way to doing these things. And hey, if I can help you, I'd be happy to help you, because it really comes down to how do you system and customize it for your business so that you actually do get momentum, so that you actually do see growth and stability building in your business, so that you can be less stressed. Wouldn't that be lovely? A little more confident, have a team that's got your back. I mean, really and truly, this stuff works. So that's it for today, guys. Like I said, if you've caught us live, say howdy. If you are catching the replay, say replay. If you'd like to have notifications of when we go live, I just put a link up in the comments. If you'll click that, It takes you to Facebook Messenger. Just hit get started, and you'll get the messages when we're about to go live so you can catch us live. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions. If you love this, please share it with your friends. I'm doing this for free because everyone needs to hear it. So I really would love that support from you in your shares and your comments and the conversation. So that's it for today, guys. I'm going to go take the dog for a walk, finish my cup of coffee, take a shower, and hit the ground running. So I hope you're having a beautiful day. May your week be profitable. And until next week, Tuesday, I'll be talking with you soon.